So chapter 2 of me losing my power, right? So we left off at me dimming myself down for to fit in for the people around me, to make them feel better, and thinking that I'll make myself feel better. Um, the thing in me dimming my light that was scary was that I still got these responses. So it didn't, as much as I dimmed myself, it still didn't work really. And what would have happened if I stood fully in my power? That was just a question that came up, when I was writing. Like, who would I be if I really just held to my own, right? And I think, let me get through the fluff. So now in this space, where I'm at, I'm really involved in basketball. I'm paying attention to everything. And I had a mother who was paying attention to everything. So I grew up as an only child, even though I have half brothers and sisters. I was raised as an only child with not children around. So like I didn't have cousins that were my age or like people that I hung out with. So most of the time, I was, 5, 6, 7 years old in the adult discussion with my mom and my aunts and uncles. And they were talking politics, they were talking economics, they were talking social issues, they were talking relationship issues, they were talking all of that. So by the time I'm in high school, I see what's going on and I hear the conversations and I know what it means, and I'm noticing politics everywhere, and that there's a game that has to be played off the court. And I probably spent 70% of my basketball career second guessing myself and not fully in my power because of this manifesting limiting belief and what appeared to be substantiating evidence. 70% of my career second guessing myself. And here it goes. And this is the funny part. I gotta laugh at this because it sounds so ridiculous to say, but here we go. I've had big breasts for a long time. Then there was a point where I realized that my breast size would have something to do with how good people thought that I was and how fast I was because of how they made me look when I moved. And it just laughs to make me say this because and I looked at video and I could understand there was this political thing about how a point guard is supposed to look and how they're supposed to move, and the end thing was either the really short person with quick feet or the straight up and down person that didn't really have a lot of curves. And I'm not throwing shots at all. Everybody is all good. This is just my relationship to things during this time. And because I was fast and I was quick, but even if you looked at video, you wouldn't see that because of the way that I looked when I moved. Even if I could kill it on a sprint and beat everybody, the assumption was that somebody else wasn't working as hard or was being lazy because they couldn't beat me because I didn't appear to move fast. But I actually was moving fast, and I could look at that and see, and it was another thing that actually, got to that self-limiting belief and continued to trigger, because it's just I have this self-consciousness now around the way that I look and around the way that my body is, to the fact where I feel my production level isn't being paid attention to because people are looking at what I look like as opposed to what I'm actually doing and what I'm accomplishing. And that was very frustrating to me. And I wrote WTF in my journal here because it's it's funny. So this is what I wrote. I said, even though I was smoking bitches in sprints and blowing past them on the court, surely they were not going full out because there was no way I could beat them that bad. That was a feeling. That was a feeling. Um, but see, as a 13 to 19-year-old, it would never occur to me to put a check on what was happening. I couldn't have possibly known to self-talk myself into not dimming my light. I wouldn't have the awareness to know that me shrinking in my being and my frustration for politics would cause me to compromise my performance unconsciously. And this here, you guys, this is where myself and just for anybody out there, this is where we get to take personal responsibility. Because a lot of times we will blame external circumstances for the way that we feel and the things that happen to us. But if we do that, that also means that we have no control and therefore give up our own personal power to create change. And you can't blame a kid for not having this awareness. We don't teach this type of stuff in school, and most parents don't teach it to this degree growing up in this household. So you can't blame a kid for not being able to self-correct their own self-sabotage because they don't have the awareness for it. This is over 15 years later where I'm figuring this stuff out. But yeah, it was compromising my performance. How could I have all that going through my head and be the best ball player that I could be? So at the time I was helpless. And to a team, that social pressure to fit in was incentive enough to unknowingly compromise the essence of my being. So I played small. I continued to play small and make decisions based off of a lesser version of myself that gave way to even lesser and lesser of esteeming outcomes. And there is a lot of things. I don't even think I didn't write that down. But just to close it up, like throughout my career, there was a big decision that I made. And a lot of people didn't really know about this decision. But because of everything that I was going through, by the time I became a senior, I became so obsessed with trying to prove that I was good enough. And that I was good enough, as good as everybody around me. And so what I did was I had two offers on the table. I had an offer for a year-by-year scholarship to University of Michigan, which basically means that based off of my performance, my scholarship gets renewed. And then I had a full academic ride to Columbia, which is an Ivy League in New York. And also, I mean, if you're familiar with Ivy Leagues, they don't give athletic scholarships, but they did want me for the basketball team. And I pretty much would have been able to, let's just say, be empowered there in a way that I hadn't been. But I was so focused on proving to other people that I could be better and that I actually was better that, let's just be real with it, I chose to go with Michigan because the name was bigger. And because it was a D1 that everybody would recognize, and I could say, yeah, I got this offer, like, in your face. And also gave the argument that Michigan was more likely to, win a championship or, go to the playoffs in these Ivy League schools. But here's my authentic self at the core. I didn't care about the championships. I wanted to play. I wanted to be on the court, I wanted to have fun, I wanted to be happy. It's that state of being. Make that note, your state of being. Do you want the title of the goal? Or is it that state of being that you're attaching to the goal that you really want? And if it's the state of being that you want, is that title of that goal necessary in order for you to achieve the state of being? And if it's not, and you're having issues with that title and that label of a goal, but there's other ways to achieve that state of being, I would suggest looking at those states of being, those ways to achieve those states of being, because that's where you're going to find your authentic self. Because what I'm kind of thinking and what I'm guessing is that Michigan it went horrible for me. And ultimately, I think that it was because I made a decision that was out of integrity, and out of authenticity with who I really was. And all through all through time, I have never ever done well with trying to be successful at something to prove something to somebody else. And so, and again, I'm a kid, so I don't really know this, right? But yeah, like I'm thinking I could have went to Columbia. I would have loved New York, and I would have gotten to play, and I had the people around me who were confident in me as a player and as an individual already. I didn't have to prove anything to them because the confidence was already there. So then I would have gotten to develop, and you know, uh, in retrospect, I think that going to, what may have been considered a lower level school, in terms of athletics and playing and getting my experience is, would be greater than just going to a school for a name, getting sat on the bench for reasons, and still not feeling appreciated, and then kind of having this helter skelter career that it ends in, not really pursuing it all the way through. And I don't take back anything because I've had a great adventure and great journeys, and I still play ball for fun and can still kill it out there on occasion. But yeah, like I definitely felt like if I had made that decision based off of my authentic self, then a healthier direction could have come from that. So yeah, that's a little bit of my story, and a lot of people don't know that, but I just really feel that it's important. Biggest lesson, personal power. Really stick to the things that are important to you at the core, not what other people will think is important, not what a title would say, whatever it is, whether it's that CEO position or that, Herbalife president's team position, or, whatever it is that's a title, whatever it is that's a material representation of something that you want to acquire because of the associated state of being that you're perceiving that it comes with. If you can achieve that state of being without that title that's causing you such anguish to actually go through, and I'm not talking about anguish like I'm working hard and I'm sweating for a goal. I'm talking about anguish like I felt, like giving up my power, like not feeling like you were in place or like you fit in. Yeah, like find that state of being and any other possible ways to achieve that state of being that don't necessarily include that title, because that's all that we really want. We want to feel a certain way. So that's me. That's my little journal entry, and hopefully you guys learn a little bit more something about me if you stuck with me and watched it through. But I might do this more often, just to get a little bit more raw with it.